Listening. Okay. Stop. Stop timer.
It's cancelled.
Set a timer for 10 minutes. Set timer for 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Sorry, one more time, 10 minutes. Counting down.
All right, so if you're just joining us, this is one of the things we do sort of late in the night when we go on these hunts, is that we'll find sort of like a place that you can isolate. You can kind of be by yourself in the darkness, and when it gets super quiet and it's super dark, then your imagination sort of like starts seeing patterns in light on the wall and shadows, and so it's cool because you go into it, and for the first couple of minutes that you're able to like be brave, and then after you get beyond the next couple of minutes, it gets you're. I'll give you an example. When we were walking the cell blocks in Mansfield, the challenge was to walk the entire cell block all the way around in a big U shape without lights, and to try to make it all the way around with catwalks. And like for the first maybe 15 or 20 cells, that they're just cells, they're just empty rooms, and you're walking by like any other thing else. But when you get a little deep in the trip, and you kind of know that going back is a long time and going forward's a long time, you don't have much of an escape. You start like drafting images and eyeballs looking at you while you're going past these, and you find yourself skewing to the rail side instead of the cell side, and there's nothing inside any of these cells, but your imagination creates that. And it's cool, the isolation and the quiet. I know I'm not being quiet right now on this, I'm kind of defeating the purpose, but I don't know. I don't know what to say. The imagination is just so powerful. What your brain can create and suggest to you. Like I'm scouring, like looking at all of the corners of the room, and I'm trying to make out like things that are different, things that are shiny. It's a cool place, though. I'm glad we came here. What is kind of neat, though, when we come to these old places, that when they give you the history of things that have happened in the past, like if it's got a history of like violence or despair or some tragedy has happened, then it kind of adds to the, you had some suffering in this place. So again, when we're at Mansfield, there was an attic area. They told us a story about a prison a couple miles away burned down, and they moved all the prisoners to this attic area, which was this basically wide open area. And so you could just imagine a bunch of people who were in prison hanging out in one open area, and they did writings on the walls, and drew pictures and wrote some messages on it. It was it was interesting. But that when we did a group isolation in that attic space, and it was probably one of the freakiest places because it was like very industrial feeling, and it had all the noises that go along with heating and cooling and vents and fans kicking on and off and plumbing. And then you had bats swooping down at you. It was a little bit disturbing. But this room actually feels really good. Like there's some rooms and houses that you walk into and they feel like a little off, but this is a neat feeling room. It reminds me of there was a museum that we went to that was an old train station, and it had like cases of like old military stuff and old train station stuff, and it was just neat to look around. This kind of reminds me of that because it has these cases with some of these older stuff. But it's a pretty neat place. I like doing stuff like this. And those of you watch us, I mean, we are, we call these ghost hunts because we're picking and having selected some of these places because they've got some activity behind them. People said they've had some experiences. And while we're very open-minded about, the stuff that could happen, and we want to observe it, we want to challenge it, we also don't want to come across as bullshit artists either, that want every bump to be some kind of phantom or whatever. But I thank you guys for coming along with us on these projects. It's one of the funnest endeavors that that I've done, and it's cool to hang out with these guys and do something fun in the evenings. That I don't know, it's just a lot of fun. But if you want us to visit someplace, if you want us to, you know the place that's pretty freaky or haunted or got some bad history. I'm a history person, so if you can find some like Civil War places that, or 1700s type of place, I'd love to go into a really old castle or something like that. So make some suggestions with us. We appreciate all the sharing and liking you've done over our stuff with our stuff over the years. So thank you, and please share and like this one. I think I wonder about this moment, but so far we haven't had one like a big scare moment or something that was undescribable. Like right now, if something popped up that I would be scared out of my mind. And like when you haven't seen that, you're willing to like go and do. But I wonder how gun shy after I do have one of those first exposures I am to seeing it again, or because it's really being that you haven't seen it, you're kind of in a little bit disbelief that it's even a possible thing just because you haven't seen it. I mean, I've had some stuff that maybe was explainable. It wasn't solid enough for me to say it's some kind of spirit or some kind of something that's paranormal. But I know eventually we do these, I'm going to have one of those experiences. And I'm just kind of curious. I'm talking myself into how I'm going to be on the other side of that and bouncing back from it. Is it still going to be as fun after that first one? And but I don't know. I'm so sciencey that I don't even know if I will be able to just believe it. It's going to have to be pretty like in your face in order for it to be believable that way. But I'm open to it. That's the cool thing. I want to know more, and I know there's a whole realm of stuff that our brains just aren't meant to understand. And I think you get to peek in it every once in a while and see things that you're not supposed to understand. And when you put yourself in enough positions like this, that something's eventually going to reveal itself and show you and rattle you and see how strong you are. And I'll tell you this, I fucking talk a lot. Sometimes I surprise myself with how I could just sit and talk for hours and whatever. But everybody I talk to about ghost hunting, when we talk about it, they all have an experience about something in a basement, something in an attic, something in a friend's house, something in, everybody has it. So it can't be it can't be something that's hard to experience. Everybody has a personal experience some way. Let me tell you about my first one. This was an actual one when I was a kid, and you know, looking back at this stuff when you're an adult, it might not be. You don't know how much of it was just your brain being formed, or how much of it was real. But I was home alone, and I went down in my basement, and I was doing laundry. And when I walked by one of the rooms in my basement, in the middle of the room was just this like glowing, floating light. And, you know, it scared the shit out of me, but it moved. It came out and moved into the center of the room, and I busted my ass upstairs. And I just didn't think of it. But then I heard like boots walking up the steps afterwards. And I fled. I ran across the street to my neighbor's house and said that there was somebody in my basement that came over, looked, thought I was freaking crazy, but that's it. That was my first experience, but I never could explain why there was a light. It could have been, you know, my eyes overexposed. It could have been a reflection on something. I don't know, but it moved and it kind of followed me out. And then the boots thing, again, can't explain it, but that was my first one. My time's up. We need to get Jeremy up here. Thanks for listening to me ramble. Next time.